Question for you. At your last company, how did you distinguish between the opportunity to continue to lead and the opportunity to walk away? I mean, when is it okay to go versus when is it okay to stay?
Well, when I took over as CEO in 2004, I actually sat down one night after figuring out I was offered the job of CEO, and the first thing I had to do was go online and buy a bunch of books that had CEO in the title because I didn't know what one did. That didn't bring much clarity, so I thought I'll do it anyway. So I actually took over the role of CEO more out of a desire for the guy who was going to do it not to do it than for me to actually do it, which proved to be a pretty smart move. But one of the things that, it goes back to one of the slides that Steve had up there, do what you love in service of the people that love what you do. And I was starting to find that I wasn't loving as much doing what I was doing. I mean, the last 14 months of my job I spent on a roadshow, selling to private equity firms, institutional investors, large international strategic buyers. And through that process, I was starting to sell myself out of what I could do there. I mean, to be honest with you, obviously from my perspective, this is a bit like, I don't have children, so my company was my child, and like most parents, it was perfect, right? It just wasn't grown yet, and I don't have the patience to watch it grow, so it was as good as I wanted it to get, And I felt there was a need for someone to come in to love it the way I used to love it. And I also didn't necessarily think that I was the right person to do the transition into, we were at a point where we needed to be sold into a larger organization in order to achieve, at the end of the day, we work for shareholders. We can't forget that we work for our employees, we work for our customers, but at the end of the day, we work for the owners of the business. And the owners of the business were due a return on their investment. It had been 12 years. And one of the things that became very apparent, and one thing I did well in my job, because I talked about creating enterprise value through a cultural foundation as a strategic advantage, which at the time, when me and Steve were talking about love, most people were like, yeah, right. But the proof comes when we were getting offers. At the time, we had offers, the industry offers on companies were, I don't want to get too technical, but they were like 3 to 5 times trailing 12-month EBITDA. That's how they valued a company. And we were getting offers on our company of between 7 and 9 times trailing earnings. So I had definitely done my part in terms of creating enterprise value. But the one thing that was absolutely certain for the next few years post-acquisition, I was not going to be able to do much beyond, exactly as I was told. And, there was clauses, and it became very, very restrictive in terms of what I could do post-acquisition. And I kind of lost my way within the organization a bit. And I ended up going on, after the 14 months, I ended up going on a sabbatical. It was 12 years, I hadn't had a break. So for 3 months, I went surfing and snowboarding and doing whatever it is I used to do to have fun. And when I came back, I found what I was coming back into wasn't something that inspired me. And at the same time, there was enough other things shifting around. And I went back to the notes that I'd made in 2004. When will I be done? And for me, it just wasn't a dollar amount. It was, the dollar amount can be achieved. Entrepreneurs, we use the dollar amount because that's how we gauge our success. We make money as a way of gauging our success, just as a runner gets a gold medal. But one of them was, if it's no fun, if other things in my life had become more important, if you're going to be successful as an entrepreneur, one thing you need to learn real quick is you're going to get there by sacrifice. And you're going to sacrifice relationships with other people because you are going to be working incredible hours, you're going to be focused incredibly narrowly, and as a result of that, you will fail in other areas, or at least you won't come up to the standard that you might hope for. And then other things such as health. And I remember going back to that, just before going back in, I remember going back to that list that I wrote in 2004, and I couldn't tick any of those boxes. Then there happened to be a shitstorm that gave the platform for which we could, metaphorically speaking, for which we could gracefully bow out. And that's what we've done. So the company's still doing incredibly well. There's some incredibly talented people there still. And they're in the process of now trying to find a new CEO who will take the company from 50, 60 million to 150 million, 200 million.